Hello again, Pastor Michael Jarbo here. Welcome to another edition of Soul Care, conversations to help renew the spirit. I'm glad you're here. Check out today's episode. Well, here we are, friends, after a snowstorm and all sorts of other things thrown our way. We are back with another edition of Soul Care, and I am so glad that you are here today to hear from my dear friend, a counselor figure, a mentor figure, just an all-around good man. So grateful to have Dr. Rudy Rasmus. He's going to get me for saying Dr. Rudy Rasmus with us today. Rudy, how are you today, brother?
Hey, Jarbo, I'm doing good, man. It's good to be with you. It really is.
Thank you so much. Would you, to get us kicked off, just share a little bit about who you are, how did you land in ministry, and just kind of give us, for people who are like, tell us more about Rudy.
Absolutely. Most of my adult life, I was sort of agnostic, acknowledged the higher power, didn't really buy the specifics of religion as we discuss it. But I married a woman who took me to church, and the church just happened to be a Methodist church, Windsor Village, on the southwest side of town. There, I met the first preacher I trusted in my life. That brother, his name is Curry John Caldwell, did something for me that I guess I couldn't really do for myself at that point, and that was showed me through community an expression of love that I had not seen before.
Yeah.
I stayed there long enough on the pew as an unbeliever, 5 years, to ultimately engage with a group of men on Tuesday night, and for a year. And at the end of that year, as I put it, I converted to Christianity. 1990. Shortly thereafter, I felt the burgeoning of something that I didn't necessarily possess at the time, and that was conscience. I developed a conscience, and then I entered a relationship with Christ and acknowledged the call to ministry. 92, my pastor, Curry John, gave Juanita and I the keys to a building and said, go start a ministry. We did, and that was 31,000 people ago.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy, man. It really is.
Crazy. And you're coming up on that'd be your 30th year here soon.
Coming up on it, yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. You've got a couple kids too, doing incredible things as well.
Absolutely. My kids grew up in a soup kitchen. So their earliest remembrances of life and ministry were peering over a counter where homeless people were getting something to eat. So they both ended up in fields where people's lives were being touched and helped. They wouldn't call it ministry because of the crap that goes along with ministry. Wasn't something they necessarily wanted anything to do with. But the part of ministry that matters, that is the engaging and healing of another soul, that's the part they took into their professional lives.
Wow. And you've got a daughter who's a counselor, I think, right?
Yeah, one's a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And the other does education policy.
That's awesome.
They are both doctors in their fields, and they are both phenomenal young women. Plus, we have a couple amazing grandkids, and I think if we could have had them first, oh man, but it's been pretty cool, Jarbo. Juanita and I have just really, we've had a beautiful journey. Matter of fact, we just celebrated our 36th year together.
Wow.
In marriage, and It's been a beautiful 36 years, man. I'm still alive as a result of my encounter with Juanita.
And I will tell you, you have the Juanita fan club of Memorial Drive United Methodist Church is big and strong. And I was just trying to imagine, what would Rudy have to do, like jump through the screen to hug someone? Because I don't know if you can compete with her soul care, which was like the second or third soul care we did. She's, yeah, I mean, just.
And I don't even try. It's a,
Don't try.
I am the president of that fan club.
Yes, you are.
So
Yes.
I just keep my position. Yeah.
Well, I would argue that I'm at least vice president or secretary of the Rudy Rasmus fan club. For those of you who don't know, I remember first time I met Rudy. Well, I met him passing one time at our annual conference, the Gathering of Methodists, when I was in college. And my buddy Jason Burnham introduced me to you just real briefly. But then I was in Chicago, finishing up my final year of seminary at Garrett Theological. And I saw, probably from your Twitter or Facebook or something, that you were in Chicago, the suburbs, teaching a class to some church planters up there, or something along the lines of that. I don't remember. This was 2013, maybe 2014. And I just reached out to you on Twitter, or somehow I got your cell phone and just said, hey, I'm you don't remember me, but I'm going to be in Houston most likely in the next 9 months. And so I drove, and you were like, hey, come pick me up. Let's grab a meal. I was like, okay. And I'm in my busted, you know what I want to say, busted car. And I'm driving out to come pick you up in the suburbs. I pick you up. And of all the places in all of Chicagoland I could take you to enjoy a great meal, we went to McDonald's. And we sat in the corner and we talked for an hour plus and just debriefed and laughed and ate a burger. And you checked on my soul in a time where I was really trying to integrate seminary life with this real life. I didn't know what was about to happen, and also speak to someone and just share with me a little bit about the Houston that I was about to call my home very soon. And I just got to tell you how grateful I was for that. And so people listening, this is Rudy, you touched my life in that way. And since then, it's just been an awesome journey to call you friend. But speaking of the soul piece of checking in my soul, I kind of want to ask you, how have you been, and that's sort of what soul care kind of was birthed from, was just hearing from people who have been finding techniques or ways or wisdom to care for their soul in the midst of a pandemic, of multiple pandemics, if you will, and how one is caring for themselves. So how, as a church planner, as a creative, as a human living in Houston, Texas, how have you been caring for your soul recently?
Well, first of all, Mike, I didn't realize I needed a break, and the pandemic actually offered a break that I didn't know I needed.
Wow.
So when we were told to stay at home, I did something that I've never done in my life, and that stayed at home. For all of my 64 years, I have been running out into the streets every day to find people to hang out with. You see, my spiritual gift is hanging out. And that spiritual gift really required me to find some people, man, wherever they were, and just be where people are. What the pandemic did for me was it really it forced me to one, hang out with myself, and for the last year, that's really what I've been doing. I stayed at home. I began to cultivate a life that I didn't really know much about, and that was an interior experience, a relatively quiet experience for large parts of the day, and and a life that, even though it was consumed with a lot of, Zoom and video calls, uh, I really ultimately discovered that I like this, um, but in the midst of it, I also had to check in with me,
Oh,
and that checking in with me required me to one, stay still long enough to start unpacking some of the things I had stored, maybe in on a shelf or in a closet.
hmm.
So the one thing I did very early in this year is I started seeing my therapist online, and uh, even though I might have melted some microfibers with what I had to share with her at times, um, I was able to find a level of healing uh, in and around some things. And and I'm telling you, man, and even in the midst of this healing that I've experienced this year, just most recently, I just hit another wall, and and over the last week, and in the midst of that experience, this is what I had to come to terms with. Number one, I've buried 8 friends from COVID
Oh, my.
in the last 12 months. I've buried 4 more friends from other causes. Um, in the last 2 weeks, I've buried a cousin and a dear friend. We're both in the same age group. And then in the midst of that, my mom got a cancer diagnosis. Uh, and and in the midst of that, here we are, uh, watching people suffer an unprecedented toll on human life um, through COVID-19.
Yeah.
And then, most recently in the Houston area in Texas, um, we watched people practically freeze to death, uh, and with still no explanation as to what happened. Um, and now, we are in the midst now of even another phase of this moment, and Mike, I tell you, I don't, as it relates to soul care, man. Um, First aspect of it is I'm glad when I wake up every morning, and I discover that I'm still alive. But number two, I'm just figuring out, just like everybody else, um, how to live in the context of what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how much help I'm going to be today, because I'm,
Oh.
I'm I'm figuring this out just like everybody looking at this thing is. Yeah, you know what we might need to do is get Juanita back in here because she got some ideas.
Well, Rudy, here she is. No, no, no.
Hey, Juanita.
I know, right? Hurry, help. No. Honestly, you saying that last little line that you probably didn't even realize you said it, but like, I don't know if I'm going to be any help because I'm just figuring it out. Like, just knowing that you're not the only one trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
sometimes that just goes the longest way, man. I mean, to know you're not the only one suffering. And like you said before we got on the call today, and to speak to one another for soul care, you just, everyone's in pain.
Yeah.
Everyone. Um, and
And Mike, this regardless to your income or your social station in life, um, your career, occupation, this thing has touched everyone in some way or another. So, so this is what I'm really learning right now, man. Um, and one of my buddies taught me as he was dying last year. His name was Joseph Wilson. He was a pastor in the Methodist church. He was my dear friend. We met right after he and his wife, Debbie, evacuated New Orleans in the wake of Katrina.
Wow.
And he came to Houston, and we embraced him, made him family, got him appointed to our church, and life continued. But as he was dying last year, I walked into his room at Methodist Hospital, and just in a really quiet moment, he called me over to his bed, and he asked me how I was doing, man, and I said, hey, you know, Joe, I'm doing all right, and I said, man, I'm just, you know, really kind of sad I'm here in this predicament with you. And he said, Rudy, I want to tell you something. He said, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge God, and God will direct your path. And then Mike, he did something, man, that just kind of freaked me out. He said, hey, Rudy, did you hear me? I said, yeah, Joe, I heard you. He said, Rudy, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge God, and God will direct your path. And I'm gonna tell you, since then, I have been working on trusting God. So, you know, some of my best ideas are not necessarily great ideas. And when I lean on my own understanding, it doesn't always work out, because my understanding is limited to my experience.
Yeah.
You know, and if I'm only understanding out of the context of what I've been through, but not in a broader context of what the Creator really is intended for me, right, and others to experience, then I just might miss something. And over this last year, since really applying what Joe told me, life has been, you know, hadn't been easier, but it's been sweeter.
Oh.
And it hadn't been easier, brother.
No.
As a matter of fact, Mike, I never imagined that life would be as hard as it is right now. It's hard, man.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
It's hard in every area too, man. Race relations. It has never been funkier than it is right now.
Right.
In terms of financial stability, it has never been funkier than it is right now. You know, career stability, what is that? It has never been funkier than it is right now. You know, family cohesion, shit, it's hard. You know, you gotta wake up every day and say, hey, we're family.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We're family. Right. Hey, so things are gonna happen, we're still family. We're not gonna necessarily agree, we're still family. You know, it ain't gonna look like we may want it to look every day, but we're still, even family cohesion is requiring more work. So we take all of these areas, man, and the one thing we have to do is trust God in the process. Yeah. Trust God that God has an idea that is beyond what I can comprehend right now for my good. And believe me, God has each and every one of those of you who are watching right now in his heart and on his heart. working out for your good.
Oh. Sometimes when all we got is sometimes all we got is trust.
Yeah.
All we have.
Yeah. You know, and the reality is we trust even when we don't think we are, but we're not always trusting in someone or something that can make a difference. Case in point. You know,
there you go. See,
you're gonna get in that Maserati of yours. No, I'm sorry, Lamborghini. Folks, y'all didn't know it,
that's
but
right.
but Jarbo's got a Lamborghini parked in the parking lot. You're gonna get in that Lamborghini, man, and you're gonna go down I-10 at 120 miles per hour, trusting that the person who screwed the steering column in on steering column day, that they tighten the bolt just enough for your steering wheel not to pop off when you hit 110. But you know, you never think about it because you have trusted the process by which, you know, that particular product came to your possession. But imagine, you know, how many ways we don't trust God for the basics, you know,
Yeah.
for the love that we need, for the care that we are calling out for. You know, but we'll drive up to a traffic signal.
Right.
When ours turns green, we take off, trusting without any hesitation that everybody around us has a red traffic signal.
Right. Right. So it's exactly what I said in regards to, I said sometimes all we got is trust, but it's what are you putting your trust in?
Exactly.
That's the specific, and it's so easy.
And that's what I'm learning, man. You know, this is only my 29th year in ministry, almost 30. And for many years, man, you know, I have struggled with that. And that is trust, just trusting. Um, you know, what I often want to do is feel as though I can fix it. And it's only at a time like now where there is so much that I can't even remotely impact.
Mm.
You figure this, in our mission, the bread of life in downtown Houston,
Right.
2,000 families a week are being helped by our little simple mission.
Yes.
We've been doing that since last March. You know, right now we are, thanks to a generous donation from some good friends, we are giving needy families $1,000 checks to impact the most critical need they may have in their lives. You know, just ongoing. There's so much that I can't reach. Because imagine, you know, there are millions of people in Houston suffering.
Yeah.
All right, millions of people experiencing uncertainty. But what can we do? We can trust God for their good, for an outcome that we can't orchestrate in and of ourselves. But we can trust God, that God cares enough to make sure their outcome is better than they might have even expected.
Wow.
You had some questions that you were going to ask me today. Give me some of them questions.
You answered 3 of them, Rudy, with one answer. I'm like trying to like slowly look down at my questions and be like, well, he checked that box off. So what am I gonna do? See, Rudy,
Let's hit a few up.
I gotta toss the questions out when I'm talking with you, and that's the story of our relationship. It's like you come in with this, and then whoop, okay, this is where we're going, and I love it. Oh man, I mean, you shared how anything else that, you know, this quarantine has taught you about yourself, or have you seen someone do? Are you, maybe envious is not the right word, but have you seen someone do self-care, soul care really well, that just kind of is your your line when you think about, I want to be like them, and I know everyone cares differently for themselves, so there's not like one model, but
yeah, I think we were joking about it at the beginning, but I've watched my wife really care for herself in very effective ways, and I think I have learned something sort of watching her, that she doesn't always put it in these W's, but these W's kind of put it in perspective for me. One, I've watched her consciously drink more water. Um, uh, I have uh, I have watched her uh, consciously attend to her weight, and that is in context with what she's eating and consuming. And thirdly, I have watched her prioritize her want to,
mm,
and and realizing that a person like her, who has been through a nervous breakdown, tuberculosis, and a punctured lung, and kidney cancer, on the other side of those four life-threatening conditions, one revelation that came out of that was, you better do something that has meaning and matter to you, if you don't do anything else with the life you have. And how many of us might have to get to a point where, where we're staring down at the remains of a friend in a wooden box, before we realize that, what in life have we not done that we were placed here to do.
yeah.
I was just reflecting, and I mentioned to you right before we started that I went to a dear friend's funeral service on this past Saturday, and leading up to that, um, I asked his friends who were closest to him, what did you learn from our friend's almost immediate demise?
Mm,
Here are a couple of things that we learned. One, in case you have forgotten, you better tell the people around you that you love them while you have an opportunity. Number two, uh, you know, handle your business. You know, take care of the stuff that you need to be taken care of every day. All right. And number three, you better go about doing some of those things you dreamed about doing, because you don't have a guarantee as though you're going to have enough time to get those done. And Mike, I'm leaning into all of that.
wow.
You know, I tell you, case in point.
Okay.
Um, every now and then you come to my coffee shop, Through Good, over in the Heights, right? And for those of you who haven't been by, come by. Support a brother.
Through Good Coffee. There will be information. Yeah, yeah. I'll buy your first cup if you go.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you something, man. During the pandemic, I closed it
Mhm.
almost right at the beginning, and I got like really depressed. Okay, because one of my dreams was owning and opening a coffee shop. It's not the most profitable venture I've been in, but man, I just love that place. So 5 months ago, still in the pandemic, I'm sitting around thinking one day, there's some things that we do. Matter of fact, many things that we do them because they make sense, but not necessarily because they make meaning for us. We do them because they make sense. So when I closed the coffee shop, I closed it because it made economic sense to close the coffee shop. We're in the midst of a global pandemic. Social distancing is really a requirement. It makes it very difficult to conduct retail trade. But in the big picture, I'm sitting around one day and I said, okay, what is it you really love to do? And I said, you know, what I really love to do is hang out at that coffee shop. Now, is it the most profitable venture I've ever done? No. As a matter of fact, I've lost money since I've opened it. Okay. But I love to hang out there.
Yeah. Right.
And you know what I decided that day? I said, for one time in my life, I'm gonna do something because I want to.
Mm.
So I reopened it. And from the moment I reopened it, Mike, it dawned on me that, wow, you know, regardless to whether this thing, you know, makes money or not, if I can still stand the carrying cost, this does so much for me that that I'm going to open it, and I did. And so since last November, we've been open. We've been, you know, we improved our patio and did some other things that just make it easier for people to sit there and experience. But the one thing it did for me was, in addition to all of the good stuff God has just, you know, enabled us to do for others, God said, okay, here's something you can do for you.
Wow.
And I did. And it's been beautiful, man. Um, you know, every day I have somewhere to go. I get there, I hang out, I see good friends like yourself, you know, and I get a chance to just really lean into and live into something that I will never regret having done. And that is something I really wanted to do.
Oh, that's good. For those of you who don't know, I used to write my sermons pre-pandemic at Through Good.
You sure
That's
did.
my go-to. And then Rudy would walk over, talk to me, and I have to change my sermon completely. No, oh, thank you for sharing that. And that's doing something for yourself is okay. And people need to sometimes people need permission to do that, but you don't have to ask anymore. Just do it. Care for yourself.
Not anymore.
Brother, all right, I've got one more question for you, and then we're going to move to the speed round. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, I know every time I ask this question to people, and you're probably my 15th, 20th guest, it's a heavy question just to receive. And so please know I acknowledge that. You know, our boy, John Wesley, was one who would always ask his pastors and friends, not the question of how are you, but he would always ask. It's where we got our name from this podcast or Zoomcast. He'd always ask, "How is it with your soul?" And so, Pastor Rudy, how is it with your soul today, my
friend? First of all, I'm gonna take a deep breath. I am a Black man in America. Haven't been reminded most of my life what that means. This past year, having it galvanized on my heart. My soul is restless. At times anxious, and at other times it's been unresolved as to the lack of love I felt from my people, from majority society. I am I'm constantly reconciling racism, white supremacy, and the angst that is literally dividing this country into two very distinct worlds. I think lastly, I think my soul is a little tired, and uh, you know, as much as I value um, life, I have questioned on occasions. So, is this really what was intended? you know. So yeah. Um, on the other side of that, Mike, I'm encouraged by people like you, friends like you who bear a different hue, uh, but um, but express a willingness and a boldness to love that is not common these days. Uh, so um, so I guess my soul is also encouraged, and and that um, and that encouragement in many parts comes from folk like you who are willing to cross the line.
Thanks for saying that. Thanks,
Yeah, man.
man. Oh, that's good. Rudy, thank you for your honesty. It's um, the more and more I do this ministry thing, the more I see uh, people, more I recognize and realize people can see through bull. They can see through it so fast, and
Yeah, man.
there's no bull, there's no shade in front of you and your ministry, and it is so refreshing to see that in a human and to know that in a friend. So thank you for sharing that, bro.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. Now but you know, I'm not going to let you off the hook that easy without going through the rapid questions. And
Let's
let me
do
tell
it.
you what, your wife, again, you're just not going to be able to compete with her as long as we acknowledge that reality. But I want to get.
I know better than to do that, man. That's right.
All right, I'm going to go through these 10 questions, my friend, and you
Okay.
can answer them. Just it's a little bit about get to know you,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to be great. So these are my rapid 10 questions. So, in one word, fill in the blank. Life is.
Fun.
You're called to be brave in a moment, and you feel in yourself that moment swelling up of fear, right? And you can feel it in you. What's the first thing that Rudy Rasmus does?
Say no.
Ooh. Okay, teach me how to do that. What's something people often get wrong about you?
That I'm never sad.
What is the last TV show you watched and loved?
The voice.
Oh, I talked about American Idol in a sermon. Singings, just yeah. The Voice is
Love the voice.
love the voice. I'm looking forward to the answer for this one. What is Rudy Rasmus's favorite movie?
Godfather.
Oh,
1, 2, and 3.
ooh.
The training films.
You. Oh, that's good. That is did not see that follow up there, but you knew exactly what those movies were. Okay, man, this is good. Oh, a concert that you've been to. I know I've run into you at a concert before.
Mm-hmm.
I know you love good music. What's a concert that you will never forget?
Earth, Wind, and Fire, 1972.
Wow. Where was it?
In Dallas. Yeah.
Dude. In 1972, you saw her fire.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you beat Juanita there, I think. Okay.
What did you say, Michael Jackson?
I think so. Yeah. Actually, I was just trying to think. I think probably Michael Jackson, which is a great answer.
My second best concert was right here in Houston, Prince in the Toyota Center, about 8 years ago. Unbelievable. It was the second best concert I've ever been to in my life.
He died, 7 years ago? 6 years ago? I mean, so you caught one of his last shows. Wow. That's okay. All right.
His last tour.
Wow. Okay. All right. Carrying on. What are you reading right now, Rudy?
Willie Jennings' book, Christian Imagination. It is. He's been speaking to my soul.
Yeah. His commentary on the book of Acts. Have you read that? Oh, okay. I'm bringing it to you. Fire. When it comes to Acts, there's nowhere else. We're doing a sermon series on Acts after Easter, and I'm going in deep.
Yeah.
In Willie Jennings, man. He's okay. So we'll talk about that.
Unbelievable scholar, man. Unbelievable scholar.
What is a snapshot? This is question number 8. A snapshot moment in your life that brings you joy.
My kids and grandkids.
Yeah. Number 9. Tell me one thing you're deeply grateful for right now.
Juanita's love.
And the final question is, when our time here on earth is done, what's the first thing you hope God tells you when you reach heaven?
I love you.
Yep. Oh, man. Rudy Rasmus, thank you, my friend, for your time and your wisdom and your help. I know you talked a little bit about Bread of Life in connection with Bay Good. You also just recently came out with a book. Whoa, look at this right here that I have on me, that I've actually gifted to a couple friends.
Thank you.
That's a wonderful read, a reflection by many leaders in our Methodist denomination about being Black and being in the church. Can't recommend it enough. If people want to donate, how can they help out with your ministry there in downtown?
Hey, thank you for mentioning it. The Bread of Life has a website.
Okay.
It's Bread of Life Inc. INC. breadoflifeinc.org. .org. If you go to the donate page, and actually you can see a lot of the work that we're involved in from one day to the next. We've got a lot going on, and it's a lot of good stuff happening. You can also go to my website, rudyrasmus.com. It's RUDYRASMUS.com, and there are links to all of our work as well. So however you find us, just know that we appreciate you in advance, and we can't do this work without you.
Rudy, there's so many that can't do this work without you and your ministry and your care. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and staff here at MDMC, pastors. We just love you, brother. Thank you for this time, and God bless you, brother. Give my blessing to you all and Juanita. All right. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for checking out Soul Care. Join us again next week at noon on Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye.